So just some odds and ends here. We push the feed cart around the manger feed and ground feed, and we use scoops we made ourselves. We didn't go to Fleet Farm and buy a plastic scoop. We just made one the size that we wanted. And this is what we used when I was a little kid. This is, underneath it is a 2 compartment wash tub. The wringer washer would sit next to this, and the clothes would come out into here for rinsing. You had the soap in the wringer washer, and then this would go in clean water. Sometimes you use bluing to whiten your stuff. You could have bluing in one of the compartments. Every housewife had one of these. Every antique shop in the world's got one of these for sale. It was standard equipment in the 50s.
And this is yours from
This is ours.
Minnesota?
Yes, it came out of the basement here. So, this is a hay saw. You'd have a straw pile or a hay pile outside, or even loose hay inside. It would get packed really hard and you couldn't pull it apart. Well, you could saw the hay and get started with a section of a loose hay. It's a hay saw. This ungodly big thing is to stop cows from kicking. You'd put it all over on their back, over their hocks, adjust it for the size of the cow, make it tight, and then if they went to kick, they couldn't kick because this would be holding their muscle in. Cow kicker, preventer.
And that would keep them from kicking forward while you're milking them, right?
Forward or back. We got some motors here. They're 12-volt motors. I think they're Uncle Ted's motors, but my Grandpa Garby had the same things. I know he had some kind of power generator. I know he had batteries in the basement of the house. I think Grandpa Garby just used his for lights, but Uncle Ted ran motors off of his 12 volts. So some farmers had wind generators on their windmills instead of pumping water. And this is the kind of motor that went with that. It was flat belts instead of V-belts. All the time all my life up to the last few years, and maybe even occasionally now, we'd always find horseshoes in the field. And these decrepit old looking horseshoes are horseshoes that were found while we were picking rocks.
That a horse had thrown off
And
while
lost.
we were walking through the field?
Yep. So nowadays we have around safety power shields, and a lot of time on the internet on antique tractors, they'll say, what's that little slot above the PTO for? Well, that's when we had shields like this. You would slip this pin in the slot on the tractor shield, and this would telescope, and you'd have the same thing on the implement, and that would protect the operator from the PTO shaft. That's how all the first implements, shaft, power, safety,